again. Oh, great, wonderful, it'll be a lovely kind of wander. And it was horrendous. I mean, there's no way they should have done it that day. They should have cancelled.
So, Chris, I don't know how many mountain festivals this is, but it's great to see you back again. You are our patron, of course, so it's brilliant to see you here.
I'm honoured. But, I know, my memory's not very good, but I know I've been here right from the very, very early ones.
1980.
And I do remember some of those, and of course both John Porter and Brian Hall, very close dear friends of mine. So
absolutely.
I've
been
still
around.
Right the way through it. And yes,
John was here this afternoon. Yeah.
Exactly. And Stephen Venables was here, of course, and that was brilliant. And of course, with Stephen, I had one of the greatest epic we all did between us.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, talking about Everest, so this year you've had a couple of Everest-related events, haven't you? So you're on the events to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the first ascent of Everest.
Well, that's right, yes. And in fact, we saw the Himalayan Trust handled it and did it absolutely brilliantly. And of course, we've got next year, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of our first ascent to the southwest face of Everest, and I learned a hell of a lot from them, because of course we want to do something that's every bit as good, if not better, for ours.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and also you're in Oslo, weren't you, for the 35th anniversary of your ascent of Everest?
That's right, and that was the Norwegian expedition, and that was another lovely expedition. And Arne Næss, the leader, and of course since then Arno died, was killed in an accident, but he was a dear friend of mine, and I'd got to know Arno much earlier than that. And I remember he phoned me out of the blue, and I'd never heard of him. He was a member of the Alpine Club, and he said, well, could I possibly come and see you? I want to ask your advice on an expedition that I'm going on. I said, oh yes, sure. And he said, well, what's your nearest airport? Well, I said, well, there's either kind of Glasgow or there's Manchester. But there is a very, very small airport just close to us, but there are no scheduled flights. And he said, oh, that's all right, I'll use my own plane.
Because he was a huge businessman, wasn't he?
Oh, he was mega rich.
Yeah.
And so he did, and he flew up in his own plane, and we went to meet him and took him back home to Badger Hill. And we just struck up a kind of a friendship from that. And then after that, for instance, one stage I happened to be in America, in the valley, and I phoned Arne up and said, where are you? And he said, oh gee, I'm in the States as well. So immediately we met up, and we were planning to go and do a route on El Capitan. And in fact we decided that was a bit too hard, so we did something else, but we did climb nearby. And so we met up and we climbed with each other over the years, and he was the most delightful, wonderful man. He was modest, and he was actually very giving as well, and he was very good at giving to charity. And it was just, it's such a tragedy that he died.
To Diana Ross, was he?
But
was he married to Diana Ross?
He was married to Diana Ross as well, and of course had 2 children by her.
Amazing man.
And so he was a very special guy.
Interesting to talk. I mean, obviously that was a very happy expedition for you.
It was a fantastic expedition.
And I guess you've had it both ways, haven't you? Expeditions where perhaps people didn't get on, and there's that kind of lesson, isn't there, in a way? Or it's difficult to square the circle. The best expeditions are ones where you're with friends.
I think, well, yes, you've got to, on a large expedition, say on the 75 Everest expedition, Southwest Face expedition, it was a very, very big expedition, and your challenge there is you've got to choose a strong team, and you've got to do some kind of slightly political choices to how to get the thing going. And then you've got to hold the whole thing together and manage all these kind of ferocious egos And I think I'm quite good at doing that. And that's your role, really, as an expedition leader.
Yeah, it's getting the right people in the right place.
Right place.
Whether they like it or not, almost.
And then you've got to do some difficult judgments. I mean, I remember one of the most difficult judgments. I spent a lot of time, semi-sleepless nights sometimes, when you're planning. You've got to think out and plan the whole thing on top of all your other responsibilities. And even a simple little thing like your summit bid. And in any expedition, and any team, it's rather like in a football team, you will have, say, a national British football team, and the same with a national climbing team. You have just one or two real superstars, and then the rest are very, very good. But there is a huge difference. For the final push, you need a superstar. And I had two superstars on the 75 trip, and they were Doug Scott and Dougal Haston. And you've then got to decide, though, do I put them together in that bid for the summit? But if they fail, it means you've got the next team behind.
Yeah.
And I spent sleepless nights, actually. What should I do? What should I do? And I actually asked Dougal. I was much closer to Dougal than I was to Doug. And I asked Dougal, I said, well, look, if, I asked you to make the summit bid, who would you want to go with, just in case? And he, without any hesitation whatsoever, I definitely want to go with Doug. And that actually decided me, so I put the two of them together, and they made that incredible push together, and they did it, they succeeded. But inevitably, interestingly, the second summit bid team had greater troubles, and that, of course, is when we lost someone as well, we lost Nick Burke. So that, it just shows you how important those brilliant climbers are, but how difficult sometimes it is as a leader to choose the right person.
Absolutely, yeah. So, sticking with Everest, I guess, earlier on I spoke with Harry Budder McGar, amazing climber in his own right, without legs. We had an amazing chat. He summited Everest.
Well, he's an amazing man, fantastic.
Isn't he?
And such a nice guy as well,
Absolutely.
isn't he? Very, very modest.
Yep.
Oh, a lovely guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But you were with him earlier on this year again, weren't you? So there's this young lad, Tony Hudgell. He's 9, isn't he? So again, he has no legs, and he's raised an enormous amount for charity. And he wanted to climb a hill in the lakes, didn't he? Which turned out to be Orris Head, which you haven't climbed before.
I had never climbed it, and it's fabulous. I mean, I thought, gosh, it's going to be, Orris Head's going to be absolutely nothing at all. Have you ever climbed
Yes.
it? It's a beautiful little hill, and the view you get from the top of Orris Head is absolutely fantastic. And so often the smaller hills are actually better hills, in that from that you get a better perspective, basically. And going up with them was an incredibly moving experience.
I've seen the film, it's very emotional.
And the little lad, he's so gutsy, single-minded, determined. And it was just fabulous to see him.
Yeah. And also recently, rather differently, I guess, you were on a Cross Bay walk. So this is walking across the sands of Morecambe Bay, which looked like a bit of an epic.
It is, of course, always a charity event. This was the Cannes Community Action Nepal. And I'd done it just a few years before, once again for Cannes, and it was a beautiful day, and it was a doddle. So I thought, when I was asked to do it again, I said, oh, great, wonderful, it'll be a lovely kind of wander. And it was a horrendous, I mean, there's no way they should have done it that day. They should have cancelled. And they admitted afterwards they should. And it was, the wind was ferocious, and you were fighting into a wind. And the ironic thing is, because the weather was so bad, if it's a perfect day, you just have to go a short way up and you can do the crossing. Because the weather was so terrible, you had to go right the way to the very end. And I remember we were right at the, I'm quite slow these days anyway, so I was right at the bloody back. the whole way.
I saw a picture of you. You seem to be up to your knees.
Well,
That's not supposed to happen, is it?
Well, no. Well, one lady, I mean, she actually disappeared. She just went slightly off the route and she disappeared down a sinkhole. And thank God someone was close by. They had to haul her out. And even I didn't actually go down, but I actually stepped once again slightly off the route. And I went halfway down and I fell over, which slightly embarrassing. And I had to be hauled up.
Yeah, well, full points for doing
But
it.
it was, but no, it was. I mean, it was the toughest thing I've done in the last 10 years, without a shadow of doubt.
And you're not doing it next year.
Well,
if they guarantee the weather.
Well, I'd have a go because I'd hope the weather was good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's worth. Have you done it?
I have, and it was nice.
And it did. But
Decent
is
weather.
it the views are fantastic? Aren't they?
Yeah. But anyway, yes, I mean, it's just a featureless place.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go too far in the wrong direction, that's for sure.
Oh no, you don't. Well, I mean, people lose their lives, don't they? They do try to go
Yeah.
on their own. Yeah.
So, well, I was just going to say, Chris, that it's brilliant to have you here once again. I'll see you later on the stage in the base camp to see that film. But in the meantime, just thanks from all of us for being such a great sport and being our patron for so long.
Well, many thanks. Well, it's a delight, but B, I mean, it's a complete indulgence. I mean, this year particularly, I mean, I think you've got just about everyone from around the world who's a big name and a worthwhile person. You've got them here, and that's a real achievement of yours, so congratulations.
Thank you.